What's going on, guys? My name's CLFurlong and welcome back to the channel. We're all about running, lifestyle and everything in between, and today we are doing the April 2021 income report for me basically selling online for April. And it's an exciting month just because last month we had our biggest month, and that was great. It was so cool to be able to, rock up and say, yeah, I've done my best month. Now, we haven't quite hit that this month. We're going to jump into those numbers very shortly. Of course, we'll go through the summary. We'll touch on some of the top items that you've probably seen on the weekly basis, to be honest. We'll talk about some of the flops, and then we'll also go into some of the lessons learned and also some of the other data and detailed data and, just some analysis and things that I think are interesting to just, point out and jump in and have a look into a bit more detail. So, have a look at the timestamps below. Maybe there's something a bit more relevant for you. I will do my best to try and, bring some different stuff to these videos. Of course, let me know in the comments what you would like to say. I would also appreciate if you are new here, if this is something that you are into, give the video a thumbs up and, hit the subscription button. So let's get into it. Alright, so here is April in a summary. We've done 69 items in total, so not that high in terms of throughput. I think last month we were around the mid 70s, so not too far off. However, in terms of total costs of items, so we've basically paid $323 to for the things that we've sold. We're down by $5.72. So basically our cost of goods this month were very, very low, which is good, but it doesn't always mean that you're going to necessarily have high profits or high sales either. So, something to keep in mind. But this month it was a lower month. Last month we were sitting around that $9-10 mark of average cost of goods. Now we've done a total revenue of $2,374. And this also is, we're down almost by about 20%, which this has been expected. If you've been tracking on the weekly what solds, I've been tracking a lot lower this month, and I think there's a lot of things that have come into play here. I have touched on it on another video, but I'll quickly just recap. We had holidays, Easter holidays, so a lot of people were away. We've also had a lot of our government support funds that were coming into people that they've kind of slowed down and dropped down, which means, people aren't necessarily spending as much. So people are getting back into the mentality of they're having to, pay off bills and really prioritize how they're spending their money. Now, also, we've had quite a few retailers, online retailers, and brick and mortar also say that they're experiencing the same thing. So I feel like this is normal, and it's all part of the game. So I'm not too concerned, but just something to be mindful of. Now, one cool thing for this month, or I guess one good thing, is the total fees and posts. They haven't really come down. They've maintained the same. So we've done $951 in fees and postage, averaging out around $13.79 per item. Now, this hasn't necessarily dropped, hasn't gone up either. So this is good to know because it means that I'm sticking to a consistent cost profile. If I can bring it down, it's going to be better. But of course, staying consistent means that my numbers I'm being very tight and clean with what I'm doing. So it's helping me understand by reviewing all this, it's starting to see where the numbers are burning or bleeding. And at the moment, it would just seem that I'm just not selling a lot at this point. So whether that means the type of items and whatnot, but that's a different conversation. So total profits for the month, we've come in just shy of $1,100, so $1,099. We are down 20% for this month. However, my margin was up by 3.5%, sitting around that 46.3%. So something to consider here is I'm not necessarily, selling items which have a high margin. I mean, we're basically, with a margin of 50%, we're not really getting huge profits here. And I think that's something to be mindful of, because if the average fee and postage is $13.79, if I'm selling something for $14, it's not really leaving much room for myself. So things to be taken into account, but I'm not too concerned. We'll get into the details in a minute. Alright, so if we jump into the next level of data, so items sold, as I said, was 69, and you can start to see the breakdown of totals and averages here. I'll let you go through and have a look at what you want to see, but what I really do want to take you through is basically, and I apologize if you can't really see that graph there too well, but what this is telling us is we've got the quantity of items and the profit that they're bringing in. So this month, my biggest quantity was books. I've sold 20 books, and that has brought in basically $402 of my profit. Of the $1,100, it's brought in $400. So the books are really where the money's at in terms of where I'm actually being able to get my bang for buck. Now, I don't necessarily go out and say I want to focus on books, but this is what the data is telling me, that I'm being able to do a lot of good work with the books. Now, I've been able to sell quite a few Star Wars bundles and a few other things which have really done really well. Now, that won't be every single month, so it'll be interesting to see over a period of time how this will start to adjust. We've got some toys, we've got DVDs and video games. They're all seeming to be the top 4 items where I'm making the money. Now, this will be different for everyone, because once again, what you find in your area won't be what I find in my area. Now, I've got 2 shoes that I sold this month. Now, I do have a few listed, but I struggle to find and source shoes in my area, whereas the books, the toys, the DVDs, I can find these quite easy. So that's what I'm leveraging, and that's where I can make the best bang for buck. So something to be considering when you're looking at your own data and when you're selling stuff is, don't just be buying stuff always for the sake of buying it, but really trying to hone down on the things which are going to bring you best bang for buck. And at this point in time, it's definitely books, toys, DVDs, and video games. So I'm being mindful of that. I do know it quite well. The toys also include Legos, books, really those bundles, and it's something to really take into to account. One thing I do want to also just call out is, back up at the table here, you can see postage costs. The average cost is $8.82. Now, this is important because I'm using the Australian Post business discounts. Now, this would normally be about $9.15 for a standard small. Now, I'm paying $8.82 on average, which means I probably am bringing in majority of my items are going through that small satchel and the odd medium. But this is good to know, because it is coming down, and hopefully if I can get that quantity up in terms of sales quantity, it means I should be able to get into band 4. I'm currently on band 3, which means I'll even be able to get a bit more savings in terms of the postage costs. So something to be considering. Of course, if there's anything on this page that you have a question about, do let me know, and I'll be more than happy to try and answer that in the comments or in a different video. Alright, so let's jump into the top 5 sold, and some of these you've probably seen over the previous weeks through April, so I'll try not to go through too much. If you want to jump over to the next section, more than happy for you to do so. So number 1 was this Star Wars bundle of 6 books. These were basically brand new, in mint condition. I paid $36 from the US to get them here, and this was from quite a while ago. I ended up selling them for $138, and with postage all the way across the US again, and I came out with a profit of $80. So yeah, this is great. I'm not complaining with this one, because to be able to get it from US, send it back, and still make some money, it's pretty good. So pretty happy with this one. Item number 2 for this month was a Harry Potter book. Once again, paid $3 for this one. My brother actually spotted it out in a country town, and yeah, we sold it for $80, so profited $54 on this one. And it was a UK first edition hardback, so jeepers, I had no idea. I know the Harry Potter books go well, I just didn't know this one did go this well, and the only reason I did is I did the research. So when you do get the Harry Potter books, do check out what editions they are, because they do change in value. Item number 3 was this Bubblegum Crisis. Now, I had DVD set actually, and this had been sitting for quite a while. I picked this up from Facebook Marketplace, was able to sell it for $99, and of course a nice profit of $46 after postage. And this one was a set item. It's out of print. I mean, when I say set item, it means to a certain collector or to a certain type of person. It's not a huge item that's going to sell all the time, but definitely a market for it, and that's why I wanted to wait for $99 to be paid up for it, because I knew that's what it's worth. It's out of print, so you can't really get it anywhere else cheaper. Item number 4, this was probably one of my favorite ones for the month, which was Empire Earth big box complete gold edition for PC. So it's a video game. Paid $4 for this, and I was able to sell it for around $69 and came out with a profit of $44. So pretty happy with this one. Now this one was at the start of the month. Shield. This was the Shield TV series, sealed and complete. Cost me about $3.60. Was able to sell it for $64 with a $39 profit. Once again, focus, as you can see, there's a big trend here for DVDs and games and books. So really do need to focus on these and find if you can pick these up at a nice price, especially the sealed stuff or things that are in really good condition. People are going to pay the bigger bucks for these. Alright, so some cool items for the month. We won't necessarily go into too much detail or all the data necessarily, but just this vintage frosted Coke glass. Now, I paid a couple of dollars for this and ended up selling for $33, and it's just crazy what people will pay, but it's a collector's item. It's very old. I think it was the 80s or 70s, so keep an eye out for this because it's just crazy what sells. And likewise, this one was also pretty cool to sell, which was a Gulliver's Travels audio tape, and I hadn't tested it. I didn't test it. I put that in the comments as well in the description, but it was in pretty good nick. Plus, it's a vintage old kind of thing, so there is people that want to listen to this, that want to collect this kind of thing. So it's just, once again, you just never really know. And I found this, spotted it, did some comps on it, didn't find any comps on it, but I figured it was like, I think it was 50 cents or $1, so I'm like, what the heck, what have I got to lose? And I think I ended up selling this for around $25, $27. This one was an Action Man Two-Face villain, Professor Gangrene, and if anyone's, grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, you'll know all about this fella. He sat for a very, very long time. I got him in a bundle. He went for around $30, I think it was. Pretty good condition, and he was in a bundle of other Action Men that I got for $50. I already sold all the toys and spare parts for around, I think I got that $60 for that. And then I've had a few other little guys like this one and a few others that I've just been selling off individually because they're priced out at around $30 each. So just cool to be able to sell this one, and a bit of nostalgia for those that maybe, love the toys in the different eras. So let's quickly touch on some of the flops. It's been a pretty good month in terms of flops, and I won't go into the same items that, I lost a couple of dollars on over the last couple of weeks that I mentioned, but I will call out that, there was some unexpected postage costs. And what I mean by that is I just didn't cater for the costs. Some of the items that I picked up early days. So I've picked up items over the last 90, 120 days, and they've been sitting there. Now, when I've picked them up, to me, I've picked them up at $10 or $15 bundles, but because they've been sitting for so long, early days, didn't know if they were going to sell, people gave me offers and I took them. But sometimes when you take the offers, you get so excited about, yes, I'm finally moving it along. You just want to take the dollars, that you don't take into account, is it going to fit in a small satchel or a big satchel? And I didn't take that into account. Now, I didn't lose big dollars. I lost $3 here, $2 there, but it all adds up. So just, lessons learned, and just really trying to make sure that with the old stock that I do have, making sure before I start lowering prices or accepting offers, either taking that loss and knowing it's going to be a loss versus understanding, do I really need to drop it? Or is there some other things that I can do to try and get in front of some more eyeballs? And on the same page of this is just the bundles is, I'll be accumulating books, $2 here, $1 here, $3 there. And, by the time you get the full set, you might end up paying, $15 or $20. But if you're only going to comp it out at, maybe $40 and you got postage of $8, $10, you're really keeping it very fine in terms of potential profit. So that's really the things that I've really had in terms of flops for this month. There is some other lessons learned, which we'll get into in a minute, but yeah, it's been pretty good otherwise. So there you go, wins and lessons for this month. And the wins, I've been able to sell a couple of international shipping. Actually, I think it was only one. The second one came in the early of May. But, opening up international shipping, I'm starting to do that a lot more. I'm getting a lot more questions from international as well. And I think that's key. And, I've learned that from a few others and people doing on their videos as well. So it'll be interesting to see this happen over the next couple of months. Postage costs, as mentioned, they're staying down. We're sitting around that $8.80 mark, and this is on band 3. Once I get to that band 4, but I need to be doing about 20 packages a week. I'm currently doing just under that. So yeah, we're almost there, but we'll start to get some more savings. Lower sales, but we had pretty good margins. So we were up by about 3%, 4%. So something just to be keeping an eye on. And sourcing opportunities. I've built some great relationships with some of the op shop ladies and connections there, and now they're actually saving things for me and keeping me in mind. So once again, this is a key thing and enabling me to take that extra step further in getting to where I want to be. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Lessons learned. Now I'm going to jump straight to the bottom around data management. I had a bit of a stuff up. I've been using Excel for my dashboards, and for whatever reason, it didn't save and it didn't sync to my Dropbox for 7 days. So I lost 7 days of data. That happened early month, and that forced me to move to Google Sheets, which is now what I'm using. And it's been a lot better, and it's helped me, and it's a bit more automated and whatnot. So lessons learned, but it's forced me to actually make the change, and I did that. So I'm pretty happy to do that. Lessons otherwise were around listing. I've been a bit slack this month. I think I'm averaging around 6 to 7, which really I should be up higher, and it's shown because the quantity hasn't gone out. Now, there were other factors, but I know because the reason why I've been putting it off is because my storage and management, I've been slack with this too in not following the process that I said at the start. And, you know, I found a few things which weren't really working in terms of friction points. So I spent a good 2 days over the weekend just gone to really start to just fix this, rearrange a few things, get my postage station a bit better, and yeah, just organizing and visualizing, you know, certain things which now they're in cabinets like DVDs and books for bundles, so I can start to see what's there and not having to go through a storage system as crazy. So just a few things that I'm working on, and I'll continue to refine that over the coming month as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much in terms of the lessons, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I kind of already touched on this a bit, but I just wanted to kind of re-mention it again, because it is key that you understand what you're selling and where the dollars are going. So as you can see here, books, I've sold 20 books, bundles, you know, different lots, and that's brought in majority, almost half of my profit, right? Now, this is crazy because that's basically a third of my total items sold, and it's bringing in almost half of my profit. Margin on this is 45%, which is a pretty good mark, right? And postage on this, you know, isn't too bad, and it's around $10 almost per item that I've been selling, which makes sense because these are a bit heavier and a bit bulkier, or they've been bundled up, so they're having to go into those bigger medium boxes or larger boxes even. So something to be mindful of. The toys, this is a good one because the margin is higher on this, and usually because you can pick up toys quite cheap from op shops and whatnot for, you know, $2, $1, 50 cents, or get bundles of bags of toys and stuff. So, you know, not really bringing in the huge profits, but the margin is high, and postage is pretty good as well. DVDs, these are your everyday bric-a-brac items. Sorry, these are your everyday bread and butter items. You know, usually these I'm selling around between the $10 and $20 mark. I'm picking them up for about $1, $1.50, and you know, the postage on this is only about $4.40. So margin isn't that high, but I haven't really had some really good bolo items in terms of, you know, high value seasons for these, except for the, you know, the shield and whatnot, but the postage on that isn't going to be cheap. And then as we scroll down, we've got some video games, bric-a-brac, which is like your glasses, shoes, clothes, and collectibles. So, you know, just keeping in mind what we've got there, but it's always nice to be able to reflect on this and see where the money's coming from. All right, so we're going to jump straight into the 2021 running view. I haven't done it compared to last month because I figured this running view in general gives you a good perspective, right? So, you know, if we look back in Jan, we did 30 items, we then did 70 items, 76 items in March, and 69 items in April. Now, if you do refer this back to my other couple of videos, the numbers here are slightly off by 1 or 2 here and there. That's simply because when I did lose the data from, you know, the earlier start of this month, it made me go back, have to do a bit of a, you know, audit and, yeah, just reconciliation, and I realized there was a couple of mistakes, not big things, but yeah, just making sure the data was more accurate. So I did fine tune this, doesn't really change much, but let's just quickly dive in. So Jan, you know, we did a total of 30 items, and now we've been averaging around that 70 mark for the last full 3 months as well. So you can see 70, 76, 69. So we are around that 70 mark, which is pretty good. Jan, I don't really want to, you know, use as such a baseline because it was a half month. We didn't start till 11th of Jan. But if we look at total cost of goods, you know, we've got $5, $10, and $4. Now, this is interesting because it's not all about keeping your dollar cost of goods so it's not all about keeping your cost of goods as low as possible. Because if you're selling them for super high with a high margin, it's irrelevant, right? But it's just something to be mindful of, especially when it comes down to the items that I'm selling most of. Books is what I'm selling the most of for this month, and to see that majority of them were sitting around that $4.69 mark, it's not too bad. Sales were pretty average. It's interesting. We've gone 42, 38, 42, 34 when we're looking down across the month. So, you know, we are going for that bit of that roller coaster ride. Postal costs, as you can see, we are coming down and averaging down Well, last month was slightly less, but we went 980, 1020, 8788. So we're not too bad there either. Fees also, we're coming down in. Now I'm on managed payments. When I do my weekly solds, this is my data is sitting at 15%, assuming that fees are 15%. Now, at the end of each month, what I actually do is I go back and I compare that or look it up against the actual fee data, and it usually comes out around that 12.7 to 13%. So fees are looking good at the moment. And then profits, we're basically, for this month was pretty low, and that's also just because of how things turned out, but we've only come out around $15 per item or $16 per item, so we are lower in terms of the trend, but once again, not too bad. Margins, we are higher for this month, but yeah, we're still basically averaging in that 45% mark. All right, so that's kind of it, folks, and I don't want to, harp on this for too long or, repeat the same information, but if there's something you would like to see, of course, please let me know. I do encourage you to go jump on over to my live stream that I did last night, just because I do dive into a lot more of my dashboard, a lot more of the stuff that I'm tracking on a daily basis, and more than happy for you to have a look at that and ask me any questions. Here I'm just giving you my income report. I think what I really need to be focusing on for next month is getting that listing quantity happening, and I think that will start to make the difference. I have a long way to go in terms of where I want to be. I mean, I can't complain. We are basically doing, a good solid $1,000 each month in profit. And at the moment, my cash flow is currently sitting around $1,000 to $1,200 that I've got to go out and continue to buy. But at the moment, I'm not really having that quick throughput. So if we refer back to, basically total items sold, I'm not really increasing. So what I really need to be doing is either cleaning up my old listings. I've got about 560 items listed at the moment, and there's stuff there, probably 100, 150, which are old, 90 days old. Probably big exercise I need to do is go back and clean that up. I also need to go back and clean up a lot in terms of turning on international postage and giving that opportunity to people to purchase. And the best way to do that is, just whether it's rather than a day of listing, but actually spending the time and going through this and refining it. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for May. Also, it'll be interesting to see if May pops back up in terms of sales, just because we're not on holidays anymore and whatnot. So yeah, let's see. In terms of quantity of items that I'm sourcing a lot, but my struggle has been I'm sourcing a lot, but I haven't been as diligent in listing as much. So something to be very, very mindful of, and something which, I keep saying it, the more effort I put in, the more potential opportunity I'm going to get out. So it's on me. It's all on me. Anyway, I really do appreciate you being here. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know if you've got any comments, thoughts, difference of opinions. And, I'd love to hear more from you. Of course, I did share a couple of weeks back how I track my data and whatnot. If you want to check out that video, go do it. I do have my dashboard that I do my tracking on. And if you have questions about that, go over to my live stream, have a look and see if there's something there that, sticks out to you. But the way I do a lot of this stuff is, I take as much data as possible that I think is relevant for me to understand what I'm doing. And I use that to really just see where things are bleeding or, pointing in the right direction. So, yeah, and this comes over time and experience as well, and stuff that I've done in my past and, from my other jobs and whatnot. So, yeah. Anyway, would love to hear from you. How did you go for this month? I did hear it was quite low for quite a few other people as well, but that's okay. We're on this roller coaster ride together, and I'm excited to see what May brings us. So I really do appreciate you being here, and as I like to say, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do the whole shebang, and hustle. Ciao.